Our cars will break down, and when they do, the repair bill can be devastating. Not anymore. You need Protect My Car. Whether it's a car, truck, or SUV, you can stop paying expensive repair bills. Call Protect My Car at 800-392-8795 now to see if you could qualify. Just tell us the make and model and get an instant quote right over the phone and get coverage today. For cars between 2008 and newer, expensive repairs for the engine, transmission, and much more can become a thing of the past. Call Protect My Car at 800-392-8795 now before your next repair bill hits. For total protection of your car, truck, or SUV and less repair bills, plus free oil changes, free tire rotations, and free roadside assistance. Just call 800-392-8795 now. Protect your car and your wallet. Call 800-392-8795. Paid for by Protect My Car. Restrictions may apply. Plans and costs for coverage may vary.
The only podcast that puts its money where its mouth is. I'm your host, Rich Ryan, and I'm joined by two members of the collective, Donnie DP Peters and the resident moose himself, Mo Nawara, and a very, very special guest. Winner of the Super Contest last year, runner-up in Circus Sports Million, multiple bracelet winner, WPT champion, the one, the only, David ODB Baker.
What's going on, guys? Pleasure to be on my favorite podcast.
Your favorite? I still can't get over that. You said those words last year, and you've said them again. There are so many people that speak into microphones, upload them to RSS feeds, and put them out into the world. And this is your favorite podcast.
But you're the only ones that interact with me, so I like that.
Well, we need to get. It sounds like we need to get Bill Simmons on the horn so he can interact with you.
Right.
Ooh. Now that would be that's the dream. Maybe if I go back to back, maybe he'll return my call.
One would think first in one contest, runner up in the other. Is that all it takes? Would be enough to get some love.
He's a little too big right now, but whatever. We're on to 2021.
Very Belichickian answer from ODB there. And we're on to NFC futures. We did AFC futures last week. If you didn't listen, go back and check that out. Prior to that, we did player props. Go back and check that out. But don't tail Donnie Peters on Mac Jones won't be the starter minus 350 because that is a loser 10 days before the season starts. I guess 8 days.
Rip that ticket up. It's horrible.
I told you guys last week, rip it up. And no. Mo, no, don't rip it up.
Cam got back and he trotted him back out onto the field and let him start and do all this crap again. And it was like, okay, here we go. He's still going to start him anyway. But no. They just cut him.
Mo, you said don't rip it up. I told you, rip it up.
I was the one that said that one I was iffy about. I said the other one, the 49ers one was fine. I said I didn't like that one.
Revisionist Mo. By the way, you can support the podcast, patreon.com/gridirongamble. You can also buy some t-shirts, shopmoneyline.com. You get 10% off, promo code GridironGamble, one word, and you get an extra 25 or a total of 25% off if you become a patron, patreon.com/gridirongamble. Before we get into NFC, ODB, you said your favorite bet was in the AFC, so we'll get into that, and then we'll set the table for the NFC. So ODB's favorite future bet for the 2021 NFL season is...
Back up the Brinks truck, put it all on the Titans to win the AFC South. Minus 110, circa minus 110 MGM. Probably may be able to get better odds somewhere else, but that I do not understand this line whatsoever. The Texans, obviously 0.0% chance. Jacksonville, probably 0.3% chance of winning the division. So it's heads up versus the Colts. You have a terrible quarterback. You have a terrible set of receivers. You've got a good coach. I mean, that's the one thing they do have. But I like variable too. I think Tennessee's stacked. I really think Tennessee has a good chance to win, to get deep in the playoffs. I mean, I'm not ready to say they're better than the Chiefs, but I do think that they're going to contend for the AFC.
Not ready to say they're better than the Chiefs. That would have been a take.
Well, obviously, I mean, I'm not crazy. I mean, the Chiefs are by far the best team, but I do think Tennessee has a legit chance to contend. You know, obviously, injuries happen in this league, and sometimes things happen, and I think Tennessee is poised to be right there. And I mean, I know you hate Wentz, so I assume you like this call.
I'm very anti-Wentz. I'm with you on Houston and Jacksonville. I think early in the summer, I was like, you know what? Jacksonville might do some things, you know, like Trevor might come in, you know, Etienne might add a new wrinkle, but then it seems like Urban is just in over his head, and it might take a season to get his feet wet in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, they might be okay. I'm not really sure, but I mean, they're not going 11-6 or 10-7 or anything like that. So, I mean, I can pretty much discount them. So it's a 2-horse race, and I don't see why Tennessee is not a huge favorite in this 2-horse race. To me, I think it should be something like -170 to -200 Tennessee, and you know, the comeback, whatever, +180 or whatever, or whatever. I mean, whatever they juice it to.
Mo was on the Titans alternate last week, over 10.5 +170. So Mo, you got to be on board with this, right?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. He must like my Titans over 10.5 +175.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. They basically have, I mean, I would say they have 3.5 wins between the Texans and Jacksonville. I mean, so basically we've got 13 more games to get basically 6.5 wins or whatever.
I had to listen to Mo's colleague on podcast talk about how Ryan Tannehill is Patrick Mahomes light. So that like just immediately turned me off of the Titans for like the last 3 weeks. But I'm starting to come back around now that I've like washed that from my brain and gotten it out of there.
Well, I mean, the thing about Tannehill is that's one guy. I mean, when I spoke to you guys at the end of last year, I said one of my big things that I've tried not to do is just stay stubborn in beliefs. And, you know, I was anti Tannehill when he was with the Dolphins, but I've come around the last year or two. You know, the play action, he's very good with the play action. He uses his legs when he needs to. He's got weapons. I mean, if you don't think Julio is going to help, A.J. Brown, I think you're crazy. We've got Henry, keeping the linebackers in. I think Ferkser and the group of tight ends they have there is fine. They're not great, but and I think Vrabel's a pretty good coach. So, I mean, I don't really see what the Titans defense, obviously there's some question marks, but I don't even see how you stop. I don't see how you stop Tannehill and the Titans. I love.
Well, there's one thing that the Titans lost this offseason that I will jump into in a little bit, and that's offensive coordinator Arthur Smith. But let's get into the NFC. And one of the most popular teams that I see across the board, save for ODB, is the Saints, and we are all sour on the New Orleans Saints. Donnie's got them under 9 -120. I have the same, and Mo is going alternate once again, under 8 +180. He listed the under 9 -120, but I know he's going to go for the alternate. And Mo, over on the lines, you wrote an article about the big issue right now with New Orleans is that they're going to be displaced because of Hurricane Ida, and we send our thoughts out to anybody who's been affected by that, anybody who listens. Hopefully this can get you through a tough time, perhaps, but displaced for a quarter of the season, Mo, and it doesn't seem like the futures market has adjusted whatsoever. Mo, lead us off. You're taking the alternate. Talk about New Orleans.
Yeah, surprisingly, it really didn't move from the looks of things. So this one, I waffled a little bit. I was between missing the playoffs and under wins. I had originally said I liked missing the playoffs. That's like -130, -140. I do think ultimately the plus money is a little better. Partially, I'm a little nervous that 9 wins will make the playoffs. And the bottom of the NFC is like pretty bad. Last spot or two seems pretty wide open. And if I'm right, this team just isn't going to be very good. My expected money lines that I plugged in have them around just over 8 wins. So I think +180 is really good on the under. Really tough schedule, really brutal circumstances right now, like you touched on. They might have 7 home games. They might even have 6 home games. Like 7 is the most they're going to have. So it's already unbalanced because NFC is minus a home game compared to AFC teams. And then they might lose 2 more potentially. And I don't like the way their schedule is laid out also. So some of the bad teams they play, like Jets, Miami, Dallas, Carolina, I think they would be better playing them early. Like Dallas, not that that's necessarily a bad team, but before Dak's fully up to speed. And then those other teams have all young quarterbacks that presumably would be playing better at the end of the season. And I just don't like the way the team's constructed as well. I kind of feel like they're built the wrong way. Brett's going to hate this, but just like they're all in on line play, it seems like, which, you know, I mean, it's important, but I just don't know what a good O-line is going to do for you when you have Jameis and this god-awful group of playmakers. Like literally maybe the worst receiving core in the league without Michael Thomas. On D, it's all their strength is up front again. The secondary, it looks really questionable to me. Lattimore, big name, but he really wasn't that good last year unless he was playing against Mike Evans. Yeah, I mean, a lot of close games. So I think, you know, line-wise, this is going to be a good sweat. So I do think it's good value, though. I do, unfortunately, I hate to take a bunch of value maybe from a hurricane potentially, but yeah, I just don't think this line's right.
You read my notes there at the end. The O-line, obviously still elite. Armstead and Ramczyk might be the best bookends in the league. McCoy and Peter super solid inside. Kamara is amazing, but what's the point? What's the point if Michael Thomas is out and your receivers are Traquan Smith and Marquez Callaway? Ty Montgomery's their slot receiver. Back to receiver for Tymon. He can finally put that number 88 to use in the offense. Jameis, can he fade the turnovers? You know, who knows? And then the defense, yeah, up front, great. You know, Cam Jordan's amazing. They are going to be missing Onyemata for that suspension, but their front should be great. But is Marshawn Lattimore fake elite? What is a Ken Crawley? Ken Crawley, starting cornerback for the Saints. And then if you look at last year real quick, 4th healthiest team in the NFL, 2nd healthiest if you remove COVID, and they beat Nick Mullins, Kendall Hinton, PJ Walker, and actually lost to Jalen Hurts in his first start. So yeah, love the under. DP, pile on. Cap us off on the Saints here.
Yeah, I mean, everything that you guys said, you know, Rich, I'll just kind of pile on first with the secondary here. I'm not big on their secondary. I think they can be susceptible. And then, you know, that would translate to the other team scoring points, which then leads me to believe that I don't know if Jameis Winston with this group of playmakers is going to be able to bring the team back. I mean, we've seen Jameis be Jameis throughout his whole career, and he's done it with Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and, you know, a pretty good group of talented receivers around him in Tampa Bay. Now he has a bunch of people that I have no idea who they are, and Michael Thomas is, you know, on the sidelines for, like, it seems like 8 to 12 weeks. It can be anywhere in there. So, yeah, I just don't really see too much upside for this team. I think it's going to be a down year. And I know I talked about it, 2 podcasts ago when we talked about some of the player props. I was down on like Alvin Kamara as player props just because of kind of the way everything sets up with how other defenses are going to be able to scheme against the Saints, knowing that, you know, Michael Thomas being in there is a really big thing for this team, you know? So if he's not in there, I mean, where's the ball going to go? Well, obviously they're going to look at Alvin Kamara first. That's going to rely largely on Jameis being able to, you know, go through his reads, find Alvin Kamara, and then also, like, without Michael Thomas, I mean, the other team's just going to be able to key in on Alvin Kamara a bit more. So I just find a hard time for this team to be able to put up a lot of points, the points that I think they're going to need to be able to win games. So I'm on the under.
With all of us down on New Orleans, it's no surprise that we all have correlating overplays in the division. And we're all a little bit different. Mo and DP, however, are on the same team, and it's the main reason why I wanted to bring ODB onto this podcast, because this conference includes Tom Brady. And a point of contention for a lifetime between ODB and myself is number 12. DP, I think you have the most outrageous one. Over 12 wins, minus 115.
Yeah.
13 wins is a lot, kiddo.
I know. They're playing 17 games this season. This team returns everyone from last year. Tom Brady, I talked about it, I think it was last week. Tom Brady coming back. Now he has a full year with these players in this offense. He's going to have Antonio Brown. I know we talked about that in the Player Props podcast. If Antonio Brown can just fade Antonio Brown, that's another elite weapon for Brady. You know, Brady just continues to fade Father Time. You cannot bet against this guy. And their schedule is really easy. So, like, the schedule is just...
Don't tell me I can't bet against Tom Brady.
The schedule is just it seems like a cakewalk. So, you know, I think that where the Buccaneers last year got off to a slower start because of, just the fact that Tom Brady's there. They're doing things differently. He's getting acclimated with the players, with the offense, whatnot. This year, I think they're just going to kind of hit the ground running, and everything's going to really work out in their favor. So yeah, I don't think 13-4. Like, I don't think that's too crazy. I mean, seems pretty easy if you ask me.
We're in bizarro world if Donnie's pushing edges with over 12 wins, and Mo, you're taking the layup, winning the NFC South minus 200. What's going on here?
Yeah, so this one's kind of funny because then I found a better line that I'll tell you guys at the end. So, yeah, Bucks win division minus 200 at DraftKings. It's minus 240 at FanDuel. It's minus 285 at Circa. Right there, you got a hint that this is massive value. And then just rule of Tom Brady here. Somehow after winning the Super Bowl, they have the 50th easiest schedule. Just how does that work? I don't know. And it's just, not only is it the 5th easiest schedule, but you would think like, oh, maybe, these other teams in the division have a similar. No, they're just head and shoulders easier than the other teams in the division. They avoid basically every top team in the NFL besides the Bills. Like, that's like the only really tough team they play.
It's easier because they're playing the teams in their division, right? They get 2 against the Panthers. They get 2 against the Falcons, where... Yeah,
I was thinking about that when I was looking at like the Lions and stuff, strength of schedule. I was like, well, I guess it helps when you're the worst team.
I like what y'all are saying on the Bucks. The other thing is, obviously, I'm a big Tom Brady stan, but if Father Time does catch up with him this year, or he gets hurt or something like that, the team is still loaded across the board. So it's not like you're completely dead if something happens to Brady. I mean, obviously he's the GOAT and he's going to pick up a couple wins that you're not, but the team is obviously loaded right now. So, I mean, and I see Rich just loves it.
I literally have that in my notes. I'm like, aren't they 50-50 to win with Kyle Trask?
Oh my, something
like,
Trask.
Something Trask. Is Trask the backup? Maybe I'll take back what I just said right there. Maybe they can't survive a Brady injury.
Wouldn't be very War Eagle of you to support Mr. Trask.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's the backup, really? They couldn't find somebody off the heap?
Well, do they still have Gabbert or no?
Maybe they'll sign Cam. You never know.
Ooh,
oh boy!
Stop! You're getting me excited.
Speaking of War Damn Eagle.
No, look, Cam's done. I mean, he was awesome when he was awesome for Auburn. He was awesome for a few years there with Carolina. But I mean, it's obvious his body has not stood the test of time. And let's just let Cam go quietly into the distance. And just enjoy him for what he was for those 5-6 years, and move on to better days with Alabama Crimson Tide Mac Jones for the Pats. The one problem I have with the Bucks is I'm not as down on the Saints as you guys are. I mean, you still have Sean Payton, and this is still a coach quarterback league. And when you have a coach as good as Payton, he just schemes. I mean, he managed to. Taysom Hill managed to get wins and get into the playoffs with Taysom Hill and Drew Brees, the corpse of Drew Brees, as you might say. So, I mean, if you look at that, they've got. I really think Carolina and Atlanta are not no slouches. I mean, when you're talking about the NFC South, you're not talking about a division like the AFC South where you have just 4 gimmies. I mean, even Carolina with Darnold and those skill position players and an up and coming coach and a young defense that may or may not take a step. You got the Falcons and they always have a puncher's chance with the weapons they have as well. I mean, the division has no layup, so that's the only negative I would say with the Bucks right there is that the division is kind of tough. But I if I had to choose a side, I would definitely choose the plus side of the Bucks. I mean, they could go 15-2 easily.
So I agree with everything you said, but also that all applies to those other teams too. Like they all have to play each other as well. So that's why I'm partially like against what Donnie's saying about Bucks over wins. I don't like that one as much as this. That factor that I do agree with David that these teams are not like deadbeats. They're all going to be fairly competent. But also I think the Bucks could sleepwalk a little, but I still think they're going to easily win the division. I think this should be minus 300. I really do. So that's when I'm going to tell you guys about my super secret bet is I started poking around FanDuel, and I found actually they have another market for exact finish, and they still have the old line of minus 185, which was the line like a week or two ago for Bucks to win the division. So if you guys want to bet Bucks win division, just go to FanDuel and get minus 185 on exact finish market.
I definitely like Mo's bet better than Donnie's. Just I do agree. I think you can win that division at 11-6. Nobody's getting out of that division, unscathed.
Well, let me wrap up the South with Falcons over 7.5. Speaking of not slouches, it's minus 110 at DraftKings. You're paying more juice on FanDuel, minus 135. 2020, 6.7 Pythagorean wins, only won 4 games. 8-2 in one-score games. We all remember those epic collapses, specifically against the Dallas Cowboys. That was an all-timer. Dan Quinn out the door, and this is where it gets interesting. 2021, Arthur Smith comes in, 2 seasons as the Titans offensive coordinator. They were 4th in EPA during that time, 2nd in success rate. ODB was waxing poetic about Ryan Tannehill. I think it has more to do with Arthur Smith than Tannehill himself. You look at their schedule, and on balance, it looks tougher than it is. 15th in forecasted win totals, 13th in total efficiency. But if you take out the AFC teams that are playing like trash schedules, we talk about the AFC South previously. Like there's 2 teams in there that get to feast on Jacksonville and Houston. You also have the Jets in the AFC, the Raiders in the AFC, all these really bad teams that kind of elevate the easiness of AFC schedules. You take out the AFC teams, the Falcons have the 6th easiest NFC schedule and the 5th easiest based on Sharp Football's efficiency metric. I think they can get it done. AFC East, NFC East, very easy games. You've got my crapbag Jets, you've got the Giants, you've got the Eagles, you've got the football team who are getting far too much love. And because of where they finished in the division last year, they get the Lions and the Jaguars. One downside is they get one home game taken away from them because they're playing in London. But again, it's my crapbag Jets, so probably a toss-up. We know Calvin Ridley's great. What's stopping Kyle Pitts from stepping in and being Julio Light from day one? Like, that guy's an absolute monster. Mike Davis is your fantasy tout's favorite running back with what he can do out of the backfield. All the fantasy hipsters love that guy. The biggest question marks are obviously the offensive line and then the defense, right? The O-line, you've got Jake Matthews and then a cast of characters up front. And then the defense, I don't see any improvements from the roster last year. But I just think this team can go out, slug it out with some bad teams, get to just below 500, 8-9, and cash this ticket. Mo, what do you think about the Falcons in the spot?
My thoughts about the Falcons are I have absolutely no idea how they're going to get a single stop this year. But generally, I agree with what you're saying is they could just luck their way into some stops and their offense could carry them home. And yeah, man, people are really excited for Arthur Smith. Like, the hype is getting out of control. I think I heard his Coach of the Year prop moved up from like 25-1 to like 15-1. Yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for you to be right because the only other thing I'm going to say before I pass the mic is I feel like Kyle Pitts is like 50-50 to be a Hall of Famer. That's all I'm saying. I love Kyle Pitts.
I mean, he played, what was it? He had one, the only catch I've seen, that he played one series last week and they just ran a smoke screen to him and it looked like a man playing against Pop Warner guys. And this is a guy that's just stepped into the league. So like, I'm honest when I say, why can't he just step in and get exactly what Julio's production was last year? Like, he's that special.
I almost wanted to back Pitts for Rookie of the Year. I love Pitts as well. I think he's going to be awesome. If it wasn't for the fact that there's just so many quarterbacks starting and the odds are one of them's going to be fine.
One of them's going to go off.
So, I mean, I don't know which one it is, but there's just too many young quarterbacks. But, I mean, I definitely think we could be seeing something special in Pitts. I love Ridley. I really like Ryan. I like Arthur Smith. I like all the things you said. But then I just come back to the fact you win in this league with line play, protecting the quarterback. So I mean, I'm kind of neutral on it. I don't really have a strong opinion either way. I mean, I'm all over Atlanta for fantasy, but like you say, I mean, it's basically just going to come down to coin flip in these shootouts. Because as good as they are on offense, they're equally as bad on defense. So I can get behind it, but it's definitely not a strong take for me.
And you say you like Ridley. One of the things you sent me was a player prop, Calvin Ridley, plus 1,600 to.
I think it was most receptions.
Most receptions.
I mean, I just think that the reception tree is just so narrow there. I mean, it's Ridley and Pitts. I mean, what is Russell Gage and gonna steal? I mean, yeah, they're gonna throw him some balls and whatever, but they're gonna be in shootouts. I mean, I really think Ryan's gonna throw the ball 35 to 40 times a game. So, I mean, why would you not pepper Ridley with the ball? And so, I mean, obviously he's Adams and Diggs are probably, higher probability, but 16-1 I felt was a pretty nice price. And I like this offense a lot. So, and Pitts, these teams with great tight ends, they just draw in so much look from the safeties, and they have to spy on them. And I really like that for the outside receivers.
Our cars will break down, and when they do, the repair bill can be devastating. Not anymore. You need Protect My Car. Whether it's a car, truck, or SUV, you can stop paying expensive repair bills. Call Protect My Car at 800-392-8795 now to see if you could qualify. Just tell us the make and model and get an instant quote right over the phone and get coverage today. For cars between 2008 and newer, expensive repairs for the engine, transmission, and much more can become a thing of the past. Call Protect My Car at 800-392-8795 now before your next repair bill hits. For total protection of your car, truck, or SUV and less repair bills, plus free oil changes, free tire rotations, and free roadside assistance. Just call 800-392-8795 now. Protect your car and your wallet. Call 800-392-8795. Paid for by Protect My Car. Restrictions may apply. Plans and costs for coverage may vary.
Every day you're asked to give away personal information online, but you could be giving up some safety too. Now it's easy to help protect yourself. Norton 360 with LifeLock gives you device security, a VPN for Wi-Fi activity privacy, and identity theft protection. No one can prevent all identity theft, but you can opt in to cyber safety. Join this week. It's the flash sale. Save up to 45% off your first year at norton.com/news. Sale ends September 7th.
All right, let's go to the NFC East. And while DP, you don't have an over for wins, I feel like we have to pass you the ball here. And we'll go to your future for the conference. Let's go straight to it, straight to the dagger. A team that we were in love with last year. Post-hype sleeper. Who you got?
Dallas Cowboys. Is there
How
music?
about them Cowboys?
We needed a Cowboy sounder or something. We talk about them enough on this stupid show.
Cowboys and the Browns, man. We can't quit them.
Listen, I looked a bit at the Cowboys win total, and I couldn't get behind it because if they happen to go over, I feel like the potential is then for them to like really go over and really do well and perform well throughout the season. So then I'll just take the plus 1,600 for them to go on and like really make me a big bang for my buck, as opposed to like, the 1-to-1 even money type of thing that you would get on a win total. So that was kind of like my thinking here, is that I think that there's potential in this offense. I know I've talked about it on some of these recent shows. I am a little bit worried about the offensive line. I am a little bit worried about the defense, but it's an offensive league right now. I think Dak will be fine coming back. He's got a lot of playmakers around him. So if they can get things clicking in the second year under Mike McCarthy, then I think they have the potential to take this up and go on to win the NFC. And just, plus 1,600, I thought was a decent price to do that.
I'm right with you on the high side of variance with the Cowboys. I clicked them as an over 9.5 wins, plus 115 at FanDuel. If you're a little scaredy cat, you can go for the push with over 9 even money at DK and Circa. NFC East, I don't understand. I don't understand the Washington football hype right now. I like them at plus 175 to win the division, but just like you're saying, if we're going to believe that Dak Prescott comes back from injury and is just immediately awesome, right? Back to being elite. These weapons are firing. The line is healthy again. Zeke is going nuts. then why don't we just blast for the top end output? So my favorite bet is Cowboys most wins plus 4,000 at Circa. It's 2,500 at FanDuel and 1,200 at DraftKings. So that tells me, take a flight to Vegas and put some shekels down on this because there's insane market value there. 6th easiest schedule per forecasted wins per Sharp Football. 2nd easiest in the NFC. 9th easiest rushing schedule. It's good to get Dak and Zeke on track. You get the 6 games against the NFC East. Projected to be favorites in 10 games. The rest of the NFC East is projected to be favorites in 11 combined. So, is there a chance that the Cowboys come back? Mike McCarthy's a complete moron and Dak is just not as good as what he showed at the beginning of last season? Absolutely. This is no guarantee whatsoever. But if they come back and it all clicks, this is possible.
I mean, that's the rub is McCarthy. I mean, there's the downside. I mean, I bought into the Cowboys last year, and hey, I took a lot of wins last year, but I had a big loss with the Cowboys. I mean, they were my preseason Super Bowl pick, and they were awful. I mean, who knows what would have happened? Obviously, injuries happen.
Yeah, Dak broke his leg.
I mean, McCarthy's still terrible. I mean, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that he went to analytics school or whatever he did on his year break. He's still awful, and the defense is still very suspect. I think I do like what Donnie's saying. They're kind of like an action point team. If they're going to be good, then they could be really good, or they could just suck. But if they suck, at least you're. I mean, if they're good, you're getting 16-1 on your money, or in your case, 40-1 on your money. Most wins that's a tall tale, but I think. I mean, if they're good by the time the playoffs roll around, there's no reason why they couldn't make a run in the playoffs.
Mo, you weren't brave enough to hop back onto the Cowboys futures with us, but you do have a correlation play. Eagles under 6. It wouldn't be a Mo future if it wasn't an alternate. Plus 175. You also like the under on 6.5 at plus 125 if you're feeling a little less adventurous. Talk about your boy, Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, so we got to start with the premise. Several teams are going to be god-awful. I know that when you look at the win totals, every team is going to win at least 5 or 6 games, but we have to look at the reality and know a few teams are going to win 4 or less. That happens every year. And I just see the Eagles as a prime candidate. Implied money lines have them right around 6 wins, so I think the regular line of 7 is too high, 7.5. I think under that is good too, but I really, really do like these alternate totals because I see such a low floor for this team. Big thing here is just really an unproven coaching staff that we know absolutely nothing about. I mean, who are these guys? And you combine that with, it's just like what ODB was saying. It's a bad quarterback and what I am guessing is going to be a bad coaching staff because they have no experience. Sneaky, ultra awful quarterback. Sneakily as bad as Wentz, or maybe even worse last year. And just the way the team is constructed. I mean, it's a bad passing game. So how are they going to come back when they get down in games? It's an easy schedule on paper, but the issue is some of their home games are like, Chiefs, Tampa, San Francisco. So it's kind of like they have less home games than they should because those are very likely to be losses. All their most winnable games are on the road, so I don't like how the schedule is laid out. I could easily see this team being in a hole early with these tough early games. They play KC, San Francisco, and Tampa all fairly early. And then I could see once they start losing games, just going into tank mode to get their next quarterback. I just think that this team could very easily be a 3-win team.
I'll see your bad quarterback, bad coach combo, and I will raise you with Daniel Jones and the New York Giants. I've got the Giants under 7 at plus 110. You get that on DraftKings. FanDuel, you're paying juice, minus 105. And then I'm going back to the well, Mo, with the bet you lost last year, the bet that you were completely pissed off about. I'm going Giants most losses, plus 2,400 on FanDuel. It's a shy under on DraftKings and Circa at plus 2,200. respectively. If you want to take a freebie, Giants no playoffs minus 300. Where else are you getting 33% return on your money on an absolute freebie? Nowhere else.
Wow. I mean,
ODB shaking his head. I can't.
It just wouldn't be football takes if we didn't just totally disagree. I mean, I could not disagree with you more. I do love almost takes. I almost put Eagles under in there. I think Hurts stinks. I think people are kind of clouded by the fact that he put up some good fantasy numbers because he escaped the rush and whatever. The coach is complete wild card. The skill positions fragile, not deep, not a good defense. I think the Eagles stink. I agree with Mo. But I could not disagree with you more. I think the Giants over is my favorite play in the NFC. I think Daniel Jones is good. I think he's got skill.
Wow!
I think you got skill position players all over the map.
51 turnovers in 27 games is good.
You have Galladay now, Slayton, Shepard, Ingram. I mean, if Daniel Jones can't do it with this cast, then he's in trouble. Joe Judge really, he got that team playing hard last year. The defense is good. You've got, I just really, and on top of it, the NFC East is so. I'm not going to say bad because I don't think they're all terrible, but there's no guaranteed losses there. Versus when you're in the South, you've got guaranteed loss basically to the Bucks. In the North, you have the guaranteed loss to the Packers basically. When you have Bradbury takes out half the field, they've got a good pass rush.
Come on, James Bradbury is not Derot.
He's really good.
Good defense.
This Giants team is good, and I think they're worth. I think it's like plus 450 or something to win the East. If Dallas isn't that good, the Giants are a real 10-win potential team. I like the Giants.
David, what happened to Rule of Trenches? David, what happened? Look at this offensive
line's not great, but
it's not great, and you have a turnover-prone quarterback.
Like 7 wins and a 17-game schedule with a good coach and a decent quarterback and skill players and a good defense. And the Eagles twice
projected to be favorites 5 times.
Well,
never by more than a field goal.
You still owe me a pizza from last year. I'll bet a pizza on this Giants game too. On this Giants team.
Yes, guest pizzas.
Donnie, you like the Giants?
Absolutely booked.
Well, I have Daniel Jones over passing yards, and Rich wanted to yell at me.
Let's go.
When we did the player props. So, yeah, I'm in. I don't mind this. Listen, after what Mo talked about last week, coming around on how 2 weeks ago, how the Giants have a decent defense or whatever, then yeah, why not?
It's only 7 wins. It's 7 wins. That's not very many. 7-10 get you the push. They got to go 6-11 to lose.
They can go 8-9. Like what? The Eagles are a dumpster fire. I don't really know what to think of this Washington team. And I like the Cowboys, the potential, but they also have potential to go the complete other way.
The Giants will probably be 3-point dogs at home versus the Cowboys. It's not like they're going to be like 8-point dogs or anything.
If this Giants offense is anything other than bottom third in the league,
weren't the Giants shocking. 1 win away last year from winning the NFC?
Mo, help.
They didn't have.
That's not the bet. They would have won the NFC.
But they didn't have Saquon. They have another year of Joe Judge. They got Galladay. You're crazy.
I can't help because I don't know what I'm in the middle. I think this is an apocalyptically bad O-line. I think PFF has them as the worst O-line.
Thank you.
And I don't think I can really disagree. They're definitely like bottom 5.
51 turnovers in 27
games.
And
I don't like Daniel Jones either, but this defense looks very good to me. And particularly the secondary, it's real strong. And
no, we cannot just plug in Adoree Jackson, who's played.
He's good.
He's played 5 games the last 2 years.
He's good. They have not the worst depth either. Honestly, I think this team is a huge wild card. So whatever you do, I guess whatever you do, I kind of like plus 450, honestly, better than the win total over. I think that I could see a way that this team is pretty decent.
Most losses, plus 2,400. Take it to the bank. Back up the Brinks truck is ODB.
There's no shot they don't win 6. Come on. They get to play the Eagles twice too. Free squares. They got 2 free squares.
I don't know, man.
Who do they have in there?
Mo, Jalen Hurts, gun to your head. You have to play one of these at quarterback in the NFL tomorrow. Jalen Hurts or Daniel Jones?
Oh, Daniel Jones for sure. Not close for me.
Wow.
Yeah. Other big problem with this team, I will say, on Rich's side is they have Jason Garrett. I mean, they don't come any worse than Jason Garrett.
The clapper calling plays for Daniel Jones behind this offensive line. What could go wrong? All right, let's move on. I believe that wraps up the NFC East. As ODB said, over 7 was his favorite bet. Let's go out west, where Mo, like DP, is taking over double-digit wins on a team. Is this an alternate line, or is this the line in real life, Mo?
I think
Niners over 10.5.
Yeah, this is the regular line. This team it's crazy. If you go through their lines, it's opposite of what you were just saying about the Giants, Rich. This team is favored in all but 2 games. So it's pretty easy to see how they could hit their high end. I also like that. So a concept from a great Twitter sports betting follow, Plus EV Analytics, I think he coined the phrase in one of his articles. It's called clipboard delta. Somebody was talking about it. I like that their clipboard delta is really small. It's basically what would happen if your quarterback goes down.
I was going to say, please explain
so
what
that would be.
Yeah, what the hell is clipboard delta?
It's the difference if the guy with the clipboard has to put on a helmet and come start playing football. So 49ers don't really have a clipboard delta, so that's pretty good. Like if their quarterback goes down, no matter who it is, somebody competent should theoretically get in there, especially later in the season. I wouldn't really be confident Trey Lance can do anything positive right now, but in a few months, Kyle Shanahan coaching him up, I could see good things happening down the road. My main concern is really what we've been talking about. We keep hitting on it is the coaching. It's brain drain from Robert Saleh leaving. I don't know what that effect is. It's really hard to say. You know, he did incredible work. He took a group of not great DBs that I thought on paper and turned them into a bunch of all pros. D'Amico Ryans is in there, I guess. I was just looking this up. This dude was suiting up in 2015 and he's just the DC now. Like, is he ready to lead a defense for a team with Super Bowl aspirations? I mean, that's a pretty tall task, right? So they do get the easiest schedule in the league, and their road games especially are like incredibly soft. So they have Detroit, Philly, Chicago, Jacksonville, and Cincy. Those are that's all but one of their non-divisional road games. So this is probably a team that I'm going to be pretty excited to fade in the playoffs once they're probably overrated by a great regular season. But I do foresee some regular season success here.
We also have them, if you like the over on 10.5, you've got them as the top seed in the NFC as well, plus 550. Pile on.
Yeah, so exactly. Easy schedule, great coach. I mean, and like I said earlier, I could see Tampa Bay maybe taking it easy a little bit, a la Chiefs last year, a little bit of sleepwalk. Tampa Bay knows they can win on the road. You know, they probably aren't going to be quite as crazy as some of these other teams to get the top seed, even though it is super good, obviously. And I don't have a ton of confidence in the Niners to actually win the conference, but I think they could be the top seed. I think plus 550 is for the top seed on FanDuel, and then I saw plus 1,200 on FanDuel for most wins, I believe, and Circa even has plus 1,400. I think those are both pretty good.
Donnie and ODB disagree with you. Donnie indirectly, ODB directly. I'm so happy. After he trashed me for my Giants take and was all giving so much love to Mo, now you get to fade Mo. You've got the under on 10.5 for the Niners. Go ahead, ODB.
Yeah, I mean, this one's tough. I mean, I obviously love Shanahan. We all love Shanahan. But I just come back to the division they play in, and there's no layups There's no layups in the division. The Hawks are going to be good. The Rams are going to be good. The Cardinals are going to be competent. And I don't really like taking that big of an over without the layups in division. They do have a couple easy games like you had mentioned, which is a little scary. Then you've got the built-in quarterback controversy if things go awry. I mean, Trey Lance probably will be really good one day, but I mean, the guy he really has never played against good competition in his life. I don't really see him stepping up, versus Aaron Donald and, the Hawks and Calais Campbell and those guys and being great. Jimmy G, I don't really know. I mean, I think you guys hate him. I know one time he was Donnie's favorite player, but I don't know.
Yeah, Rich hates him.
I'm not really sure. I'm not sure what we're going to get out of Jimmy G. I do like Shanahan, so it is scary, but I just think it's too high. I don't think anybody in that division do I feel confident. I think they're going to beat each other up. And so therefore I'm just gonna fade the big number and hope. I will have interest in them on a week to week basis though. But there's just ways that it can go downhill, and I don't like taking big numbers when there are several ways it can go downhill, and that's with either Jimmy G stinking or the defense not responding without Salah or Trey Lance being overwhelmed or what. I mean, there's just a lot of ways I could see that they could fail.
For all you kids doing SAT prep out there, Jimmy G is to Kyle Shanahan as Jared Goff is to Sean McVay. That's all I'll have to say on Mr. Garoppolo. DP, you did not fade the Niners directly, but you're indirectly against them by supporting another member of the NFC West, and that is the Sea Chickens of Seattle. Your favorite, the rah-rah Pete Carroll.
Yeah, the rah-rah Pete Carroll. I mean, I'm kind of surprised I didn't see this one on your board, Rich. I mean, you're the one that's always on here talking about how the Seahawks are just going to, walk up, roll the balls out and win 10 games. They do it every single year pretty much. They have an extra game this year. I think the offensive line's going to be improved. I mean, I know that was a bit of a disaster last season, but I think that they're going to be a little bit better this year. I still trust Russell Wilson. I still believe in that guy to go out there and win football games. I think he's just a really, really good quarterback all around. And then, I mean, their schedule's towards the top in terms of toughness, but I don't hate it too much. I just think this is a really solid team that in a 17-game season can get to 11 wins, pretty comfortably. I mean, I'm not expecting them to go out there and win 13, 14 games, anything like that. But in a conference where I felt it was a struggle to kind of find some overs that I liked, I mean, I just kind of felt like I would just go back to old reliable and bet on the Seahawks, who always seem to get the double-digit wins every single year.
Mo, you supported the Niners there, but it looks like you're going for a bit of a top-end play here with the Hawks winning the NFC.
Yeah, so this isn't really a hedge. It's just how I see two different teams as strengths. Like I said, the Niners have such an easy schedule, great coach, but once you get to the playoffs, you need high-end quarterback play usually. It's tough these days to win without it. And, I know how good Tampa Bay's roster is, but there are question marks about all of these teams, really. Tampa Bay still has Tom Brady at quarterback. He's pushing 50. That could fall off a cliff at any time. I mean, I know Donnie wants to say you can't bet against it, but at some point, this is inevitable. I don't trust the Niners in the playoffs. We've already gone over bad QB play there. But, Russell Wilson is a QB I do think can make plays and win you a game in the playoffs. I don't know what happened in the second half, really, of last season. I don't really have an explanation for that.
They stopped letting him cook. Everyone said let him cook. They didn't let him cook.
Yeah, so
give the man a spatula.
I think basically what happened was, we know people started dropping their safeties against them and kind of trying to take away the deep ball and inviting some shorter stuff, and it just wasn't working. But I don't really see that as being that tough to fix. I think that kind of second half collapse has people a little bit sleeping on the Seahawks. I don't see much difference. It's basically what ODB was saying. I don't see much difference between Seahawks, Rams, and Niners. And the Rams and Niners are like plus 600, plus 700 to win the conference. So why are the Seahawks plus 1,000? I don't see that much difference between these teams. but the Seahawks have the best quarterback of the bunch. And, adding Gabe Jackson to the O-line, my question here is basically the coaching staff. I know Pete Carroll's going to do a solid job in the regular season, but we need better than what was happening in the second half in the playoffs to have any success. They saw what worked last year, and they saw what happened when teams started dropping their safeties. So can they adjust? Can they come up with some countermeasures here? The good thing is there's no staffs on the opposing teams that really scare me that much, because we've talked about some of the brain drain from the staffs like the 49ers. They don't have like a Reed, Harbaugh, McDermott, these type of AFC, juggernaut coaching staffs that are really going to scare me. So I think if the Seahawks can figure a couple things out, the bar is not super high for them to be among the most dangerous teams. And you're getting 10-1 here. I think that's just too high.
We've waxed poetic about the Niners and the Hawks, which naturally brings in another under from ODB, the Arizona Cardinals. Cliff Kingsbury, another guy I'm a huge fan of. Cardinals under 8.5. Talk about ODB.
Yeah, I think this one's pretty easy. I mean, I don't hate the Cardinals, but when you've got to go up against three of probably the top 7 or 8 teams in the NFL 6 times, it's hard to get there. They're outclassed. I mean, Kingsbury's outclassed at coach by all 3 members of the NFC West, even though I think Carroll is not very good. He's still outclassed by Carroll as well, but obviously Shanahan and McVay are the best. You also have, what Mo was talking about, clipboard delta, I guess. But Kyler Murray is one hit away from being out. I mean, he's good when he's in there and he makes plays, but I mean, this team could crater if anything happened to him. I mean, he basically makes that team tick. It's just basically a play that somebody's got to come in last in that division, and I can't see everybody in the division going over 500. And I think it's going to be hard for the Niners, Seahawks, or Rams to really come in last. So somebody has to come in last. It's got to be the Cardinals, and 9 wins for a last place team is pretty hard. So I'm just basically going with that.
We don't think Colt McCoy can run around back there and do the things that Kyler Murray does.
I mean, he can probably against a few,
every year
but
he's still in the league.
Yeah.
Colt McCoy. Everyone talks about Mo's boy. Who was the backup last year? Came in, ran that end around for the Chiefs.
Henny. Chad Henne.
Chad Henne. He ran that 13 yards
Henne.
or whatever.
No. Who's the ski mask Hall of Famer?
Oh, Matt Moore.
That's Chase Daniel,
ski mask Hall of Fame, number 1. What a legend! Guys made like $40 million as a backup.
I can't imagine, Rich, you're not on Arizona under. You've got to be on with their 1 yard ADOT and terrible coach, in your opinion, and the tough schedule.
If I didn't love the under for the Saints and the Giants as much, I definitely would have been on this as well. And the fact that I do love all the other teams in the NFC West, I tried so hard to shoehorn a Rams future in here, and the only one that made sense to me, because if it's going to be good, it's going to be really good. I just said, bleep it, let's take Rams Super Bowl plus 1,500. Like, McVay has been awesome these last couple of years with undoubtedly a bottom third quarterback in the league in Jared Goff. Like, well below league average Jared Goff. And now he gets Matthew Stafford, who is the complete inverse. A guy who is excellent and has never had good surroundings. Of course, had a chance to play with Calvin Johnson, but in terms of team makeup, coaching, play calling, it's never really been there for Matthew Stafford. And now he gets the luxury of playing in a Sean McVay offense that's going to manufacture so many easy throws for him. They've done a great job. Being out here in Southern California, I've watched some of the games while they're on, and the way that they're handling Deshaun Jackson, they're really treating him like a luxury sports car. Like, the guy, to my knowledge, hasn't even played in any of these scrimmages. Like, he's just been
Let me spoil it for you. He won't play in many of the regular season games either.
Well, this is the point. Is like, I don't even know if Djax will play many snaps early in the season, right? because they know that they want him when it matters. They want him to be able to run deep in the last quarter of the season and in the playoffs to distract coverage and create explosive plays. They don't need that in September. They don't need that in October. Like, he's not going to go out and play 40 snaps a game because it's not necessary early on in the season. They're going to manage him and keep him healthy. They're just they never play their starters in the preseason, right? Like, this is just a very sharp team. And if everything clicks, if everything aligns, like, the Rams could be like a 13-14 win team and just blow teams out of the water. That being said, though, the division is so competitive that I didn't want to touch any of those futures. But if I'm going to shoot for the moon, I'll shoot all the way for them to win the Super Bowl at plus 1,500. DP, you agree? You have the Super Bowl and also the NFC. So put a bow on Los Angeles.
Yeah, listen, I just think, kind of like my pick of the Cowboys there. There's upside with this team. If everything can get going together, they have a good defense, they have good weapons. Now they get Stafford in there to work with McVay. Jared Goff is just the absolute nut low as far as I'm concerned. So, I can't imagine things don't progress greatly in that regard. For the quarterback play. So if they can, just fade kind of the standard injuries, I think kind of the sky is the limit for this team. I know they play in a tougher division within the NFL, but yeah, just being able to buy in on them being able to win the NFC at plus 650 and then also, the Super Bowl plus 1,400, I would just rather, bet on that upside and try and get a little bit more bang for my buck for a team that I think has a lot of potential to really, go deep in the NFC and then ultimately win the whole thing if it comes to that.
Mo is basically the number one Stafford guy. I'm surprised you're not on here with some Rams love.
I know, but so much off-season love. I feel like everything has to be accounted for at this point in the market because people have got to be just loving all this. I will say this is another brain drain spot, though. Staley did an incredible job with that defense last year. Raheem Morris, we know he was a god-awful head coach with, I believe it was Tampa. I don't know what this defense is going to look like. It's going to be really hard for them to repeat what they did last year.
We said the same thing when Wade left, though, too, right? And they were able to keep him moving. So there might be something to McVay's leadership that helps that defensive side of the ball.
This might not be the case with the Rams based on the prices that Donnie said, but one thing that I would suggest, if you're looking at NFC futures and teams to win the Super Bowl, I think most of the time you're going to be better off just betting them to win the NFC rather than win the Super Bowl. Most of the time, it's to win the NFC is half the odds that winning the Super Bowl is. And I think we're all probably think the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. Assuming that the Patriots, assuming that the Bucks don't get there, then, if your team's going to win the NFC, they're most likely going to have to get through the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl. They're most likely going to be a dog in that situation. Or if they're up against the Bills, if the Bills happen to upset them, I think most teams are going to be a dog against the Bills or the Chiefs. So I would suggest if you're going to take an NFC team to win it all, you might as well just bet them to win the NFC, and then you can fire them at plus money in the Super Bowl if you want, or you can just take your win and be happy.
I thought about this, and I'm glad you brought it up because I didn't put it in my notes, but it was rattling up in there. And my galaxy brain take was the sleepy Chiefs. You could have the perfect scenario of having plus money on both sides, where if you just wait and bet live, if the Rams take the lead in the Super Bowl, you could probably get the Chiefs at plus money. Because we know they love to sleep in the first quarter, and then you have plus money on both sides. But for sure, it's going to be difficult to find a group of guys that think the Chiefs are as good as we do on this podcast. So that bet the NFC tip is definitely valid.
When you get Xfinity Internet, Flex is included free, and finding what to watch on TV is now as easy as popcorn. This is a way better way to watch.
Go to Xfinity.com, call 1-800-XFINITY, or visit a store today to get a great offer on internet and add Flex for free. Restrictions apply.
Peacock is streaming your favorite shows, movies, live sports, breaking news, exclusive originals, and every live WWE pay-per-view. It's The Office, Chris Lee Knows Best, and Peacock original shows like Punky Brewster. Peacock, watch for free, upgrade for more. Stream now at peacocktv.com.
All right, let's go to the NFC North and wrap this up. And ODB, you're the one leading the way here with a trio of Vikings futures. Loving Skull Viking. Tell us about them.
Yeah, I love the Vikings. I think the defense is much improved this year. They had some COVID holdouts. And I think basically the Vikings got off to a really bad start and they kind of fell down a cliff last year. The defense has some key people back. Danielle Hunter is, I'm going to assume, is still elite. And I like the weapons they have on offense. I think Cousins is competent. You got Cousins, Cook, Jefferson, Thielen. I think that they're going to move the ball well.
Herndon.
I mean, we might. Who knows? I mean, it's possible. And we all know that Zimmer is better than last year's performance. So I really and then you've got a couple of layups. I'm not high on the Bears. I don't think anybody's high on the Lions. So there's a couple of layups in the division. And when I'm taking it over, I really like to have the teams that have the layups in the conference in the division. As you can tell by my conversations, I like the Titans. They had the layups. I didn't like the Cardinals and the Niners because every game is going to be tough in the division. I really think the opposite for the Vikings. The Lions they're most likely going to be a bottom 3 team. And the Bears, who knows? We don't know what we're going to get. They got a bad line. They're going to have a rookie quarterback that could or could not be good. They've got a bad coach. So I mean, I'm all in with the Vikings. I think that they just have to get through Aaron Rodgers, and even if not, I mean, you still can get to 9 wins without. And typically, the Vikings play the Packers well, so I mean, it's not inconceivable they just split those games, go 3 out of 4 against the Bears and Lions, and that should be enough to get them to 9 wins. And I don't love them to win the NFC, but almost 20-1. I think they're going to make the playoffs. So if they can somehow get home field advantage and overcome the Pack, I mean, I think you'll get some nice value there. So I just threw a wild card out there that at 20-1, take if you're throwing a dart. Obviously, the Rams and Niners and whatnot that you guys have said are better, but I don't like to just take the 6-1 on futures. I'd rather go for a 20-1.
Yeah, you're getting double the value on the Hawks. You said home field there. I think the Vikings are one of the teams in the league that might benefit the most from fans being in the stands, get the skull chant going, the sound in the dome reverberating a little bit. So you've got that. Zimmer just excellent at home, both straight up and against the spread. So I think that might play into that there. And you bring up the Lions. People are not high on the Lions. DP, you're full fade. Last year you were silver and blue through and through, and this year you're going Mo's rule of outlier. Under 4.5.
Yeah, I'm
wins.
pissed. I'm pissed at what they did to me. And it's not just last year. They've done to many seasons. I just drive in the silver and blue hype train, and they just completely shit the bed. So, yeah, Dan Campbell getting in there with his, rah-rah. Like, he's out of control.
Biting kneecaps.
He's out of his mind. I have no idea how the combination of Dan Campbell and Jared Goff is going to work in any way, shape, or form. The only way that I think that it works in that Jared Goff doesn't completely torch the season is that if Jared Goff is just turning and handing the ball off, but then they're not going to win football games anyway. Like this defense is horrific. I have no idea what Dan Campbell brings to the table as a head coach other than biceps and pec muscles. I mean, it's just the whole thing is just quite ridiculous to me what's going on in Detroit. And I agree they're going to be a bottom 3 team, and I'm just going to take the plus money on under 4.5 wins because, I mean, I know there's an extra game this season, but I just don't see this team getting anything done anywhere. I just don't know how that's even possible.
Well, the only way you lose that bet, I think, is just because I don't think Campbell, it's in his DNA to tank or to play, backups or to do anything. So I think they're going to try hard. And if they happen to catch the right teams at the right time, that's the only downside. But talent-wise and just actual X's and O's execution-wise, I mean, I agree with Donnie. Like, Campbell's a complete horror show and probably going to be terrible as a head coach. But that just the try hard thing when other teams are tanking at the end trying to get that top pick, that dumbass will just try to still win a game that he's not supposed to try to win.
Tyrell the Gazelle, WR1. Who's ready for? Who's ready?
Insane.
Goff
He's
to
gonna last
Gazelle.
4 weeks. I mean, how Goff could barely function when he had his genius head coach in his ear till there was 15 seconds left in the play clock. What the hell is Jared Goff going to do now? There's no chance.
Man Campbell's just screaming in his ear, "Make a play, Jared!"
Do you guys remember Jeff Fisher Goff?
Yes, I do. That was when Jared Goff didn't know when the sun rose in the east or the west. That's a thing that happened.
My projected money lines had the Lions at like 4.25. So under 4.5 at plus, I think is fine. But if it gets to minus, I don't like it that much. I do agree with what ODB said and what Donnie said. Generally, I disagree with everything you guys were saying, but I just wanted to add that when I did run the money lines, it did come in under 4.5. So I think plus money's fine.
Plus money under 4.5. Well, those are our NFC team futures. Thank you so much to David Baker for joining us. Follow him on Twitter. I'm going to say it right this time. I'm glad you explained it last time because everyone tries to pronounce it out. But I know because of your War Eagle connection that it is AU David B on Twitter. You can get some takes there. You can see his hatred towards me whenever I spew nonsense about Thomas Edward Brady.
There will be some subtweets coming, I'm sure, from both of us.
There will be tons of subtweets
and don't worry, you'll be right eventually. If you just say Tom Brady's done, you will be right eventually.
He'll be in the grave at some point. Like it's gonna.
The broken clock is right twice a day, and you will find a time where you're right, and you'll say, "See, I told you, he's done," and I'll be like, "All right, thanks for the 6 Super Bowls or whatever he's won."
Oh yeah, thanks for the 18 seasons of being.
Yes.
But he threw it right in the middle of that practice catching machine.
Look, thanks guys for having me. I love the show and I love the work that you guys do. Not only on this show, but just in general, your passion for football and poker through the years has really been great. And that's why, one of the reasons I'm a big supporter of you guys. And, I'm on anytime you'll have me. So just give me a shout and I'll come back. Hopefully we'll have some sweats from the collective and from ODB MG this year. And good luck this football season.
Fingers, toes, everything crossed. You will definitely be back at some point. Follow these guys on Twitter at Donnie_Peterson, at Mo Nuwara, NUWWARAH. I'm at Rich T. Ryan. Going to have something special for you on Friday. Ooh, how about that? Until then, peace. Ow.
Dunkin' is putting a whole new spin on pumpkin at Dunkin' with our new Pumpkin Cream Cold Brew. Smooth, bold cold brew topped with velvety pumpkin cream cold foam made with cinnamon and nutmeg spices. And there's more pumpkin for you to love, like the delicious fall classic, our Pumpkin Spice Signature Latte. Rich espresso topped with whipped cream, caramel drizzle, and cinnamon sugar. That's how we pumpkin at Dunkin'. Sip into the fall season with the $3 medium Pumpkin Cream Cold Brew or Pumpkin Spice Signature Latte. America runs on Dunkin'. Participation may vary. Limited time offer. Exclusions apply. Valid on Pumpkin Spice Signature Latte only in all cold foam cold brew.
It's a fact. All cars will eventually break down. If you have CarShield, you can protect yourself from the high cost of auto repairs. And they're America's #1 auto protection company. Your transmission, engine, and car's computer system are all covered. Get the ultimate vehicle service protection. Call CarShield now at 800-932-1729. That's 800-932-1729.